welcome back to Kick Butt Turbo Nerds. I am your best friend, Neil Califf.
And I am your other best friend, Camden Nikolai.
We are here to kick butts and be nerds, and we are all out of butts. So we're going to get started with episode 7. We've been gone for a bit.
2.0.
Yeah, this is, wait, what did you say?
I said, wait, my thing didn't make sense. I said 7.
Did you say 7.0?
I said 7 2.0.
7 2.0.
That didn't make sense either.
7.2, I guess.
7.1.
No, we can stick with 7 2.0.
Sure.
We got, all the way through Camden's topic once before all of the data was lost again. That's lost episode number 2 for you guys.
My computer is slaying. And by that, I mean, it's literally going to be the death of me. It is not.
Yeah.
Yas. It is not.
The ossification
of my computer.
Camden's computer.
Would be smashing it with a hammer.
Yeah.
It just drives me nuts. But,
maybe someday.
Listen, what I'm saying is, I think we should go on, Twitch one night, and with the lost episode...
And react to the lost episode?
Yeah, and just, blind react, and, try to piece together what we were talking about, because Lord knows that this is probably not going to be the last time that this happens to either one of us.
That's true.
And... my computer's not getting smarter. Certainly not. And...
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think it would be a little funny.
I don't think anybody's going to watch. If you'll watch that, DM us so that we have an actual tally of who's going to watch. Because right now, I wouldn't even watch that.
My mom will watch. Because she likes it when I stream. Even though I don't do it very often. But she does like it when I do it. By not very often, I mean I've done it once.
Once?
2 years ago. For a song.
This is a good stream.
It was fun. I miss it. I want to do it more now that I actually have a Nintendo Switch and not a Switch.
Now that you actually have RGB cat ears?
Yeah. So, I'm not saying I'm a Twitch streamer, but do you know a normal guy who has these headphones? No.
Can't say I do.
No, it's just me. Oh, I talked about this in the last episode, but I think
you do have to do this again.
I do have to let you all know. I have to let you know. What just happened here?
I did just absolutely body my microphone by accident, but it's back and we're okay.
Bruh.
I think this is going to have to be a recurring segment. It's Camden's Car Corner. Yeah, that's a good name, too. It did break down again. Of course it did.
She's back in business now. However, how it did happen is that me and Kristen were going out for lunch. Kristen is my friend. And we were at work, and we're, heading out to go to my car. I get in the driver's seat. She gets in the passenger. And we, fully locked and loaded, ready to go. And I go to turn my key, and just silence. Just nothing happening.
Did the key turn?
Yes, it turned perfectly fine. It just did nothing after that. But it was my battery, and we got a new battery. And now she's back home, beautiful as ever. Still has this stone chicken in the back seat. That my nana.
What?
It's a cement chicken. It's maybe 40 pounds.
Why?
My nana gave it to my mom. It's been in there since September. If I get into an accident,
it just lives in there now?
It will decapitate me, yes. My mom is asking for it, and I'm like, I've kind of grown attached to him.
You've adopted this stone chicken.
Yeah. He just sits in the back. Anong was in the back seat when we went out for Halloween, and she was just resting her arm on him. She was like, I like this chicken. And I was like, that's nice. I'm glad.
It's a good conversation piece, I guess.
I guess people just get in my car and they're like, why do you have lawn decorations in here?
The problem is you don't have a good answer. You need a better answer.
No, he's in there. I can't. He's kind of too heavy for me to lift out now. I've gotten a little bit weaker in my sickness, and so he's just in there until someone strong and buffed can get him out. He's cursed to be in my backseat. Maybe when I sell the car, comes with stone chicken. I think that'll work. Mm-hmm. It's definitely not dangerous.
You're not a bug.
It's definitely not dangerous at all. It won't decapitate you if you.
It would never.
He would never do that.
He would never.
He would never even think about doing this. Stop being crazy. You're crazy. Me gaslighting these people into buying my car with the stone chicken inside.
That your stone chicken would never decapitate
You would
them?
never do that! Why would you even bring that up? He's offended now. Go apologize. Go outside. Say you're sorry.
I'm sorry.
Thanks. I'll tell him. I'm upstairs. He's outside, so I'll have to yell it out my window or something. Another reason is that my neighbors would be like, what the fuck?
I'm sorry, stone chicken.
Neil says he is sorry. Like, okay. Oh, also, really quickly, before I get started, I'd like to say hello to my friend Pinky, who listens to the podcast, like, religiously, and who sent me a message earlier today saying that they started reading books because of Neil, because Neil talked about Library Babble.
It makes me very happy.
And they were like,
very, very happy.
It was genuinely, like, made my day. And they said that they would have watched and read anything else we talked about, except it was all things they were already familiar with, which is just wonderful, and shows that they are a true friend of mine. I do love them very much. So shout out, Pinky. I know you listening. I love you. And probably Francis, too. I don't know if Francis listens. That's their twin.
Are we just shouting out everybody who's listening?
No. I mean, hey, Mom. Hey. Who else listens? Matt.
My
hey,
dad,
Maddie.
Akiva.
Yeah.
I don't know who else actually listens and who else just says they do.
Rose.
Yeah, the Chicago peeps.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
I think my sister, maybe... I don't know. I don't know. But yeah.
We do want to just apologize for having been gone for a bit. Yeah, we did this last time, but you guys didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't exist anymore, so we gotta just do it again real quick. Because things just got kind of crazy between the two of us.
Neil was doing a lot of tests in college.
Yeah.
I died.
Exams in school.
Came back.
Camden is a ghost.
Yeah. I'm here to haunt Neil. We've had this deal since high school.
Yeah. It's a pretty straightforward thing.
If I die...
I get a podcast out of it.
Yeah.
Camden gets to haunt me. It's symbiotic.
Yeah, I am a parasite, so... don't forget that.
But we're trying to have a more consistent schedule now over the summer.
Yeah.
Hopefully things are gonna get a little more back to normal.
Yeah, I'm not...
So stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm feeling better. Thank you for everybody who reached out personally and was like, I hope you are okay. I am feeling much better now. So glad to be back at the podcast, though, because I did miss it very much.
We're glad to have you back, Camden.
Thanks! Thanks! I like how you're saying we as if there's more than just us two.
I think you're probably glad to have you back as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the only me I got, so...
Both of the hosts of this show are glad to have you back, Camden.
The me that isn't me. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh, also, unrelated, I have a huge hole in my shirt.
That's a big hole in your shirt.
I wore this out in public today.
For the viewers, what would you say could fit through that hole?
Like, easily a softball.
What's about the size of a softball?
Yeah, it's a softball. And
softball
it's just
size? Yeah.
Right on my armpit. And no, I won't be getting rid of this shirt. It's comfortable.
What is on your shirt?
It says Love Seabus with the Columbus skyline on it. I got it right before I moved to Jersey from a thrift store, and it was like, I did cry in the middle of the thrift store, so I was like, oh my god, I'm moving away. I'm back. I'm back. But I still do love Ohio. Kind of. That was unrelated, but I felt I needed to live my truth. telling you about my shirt hole. You know how it is.
I do know how it is.
And then I tried to cover it up with a flannel that I have that I may or may not have worn while I was in Florida. That is just from here to here, down to the very bottom of it, ripped, and it's just held together with safety pins.
The flannel is ripped? Can you see the hole of your shirt through the rip of the flannel? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm. I don't like getting rid of clothes that I'd like, so it stays with me. It's my favorite flannel. It's like thin, but still warm.
I feel like that defines flannel.
No, but you're like, some flannels are like thick and like don't lay very nicely over other clothes. Listen, I'm gay. This is a whole thing, man. You don't get it. You just don't get it. All the gay people that are listening to this are going to be like, yeah, I know what he's talking about.
I apologize.
Neil's homophobic because he said that all flannels are the same.
Sorry for my insolence. I don't understand these things.
He's still learning. I was proud that you said slay like 10 minutes ago.
Well, I do my best.
He's an ally. Anyways, it's my turn to start this week.
Yes, it is. Please do.
I think I will. This week I'm going to be talking about my favorite movie of all time, which is...
Okay, but...
kind of...
Didn't you already do that?
No, I was about to say the difference between this week and last week is this one is live action, the other one is animated.
Oh.
How to Train Your Dragon is my favorite animated movie of all time.
Okay, that's a big qualifier.
Yes, it is. You know my favorite movie.
I probably do, but again, I will not remember until you say it, and then I'll be like, oh, I did know that.
My favorite movie is Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, I did know that.
Look, he said he was going to say that. But yeah, that is my favorite movie of all time. I saw it for the first time when I was about 3 years old, which I think just explains how I turned out as a person. It explained my music taste. It explains the fact that I found Tim Curry to be the most attractive man on the planet. There is a video that I will be sending to you so you can put the audio in.
Am I allowed to do that?
Yes, because it is a video of me when I'm 4 years old. I might link it or screen record it and put it up on the Instagram. I'm 3 or 4 years old. Misty, my sister, recorded this, and it is me dancing to the time warp. But the whole video starts out with me going, "He is so hot." And my sister goes, "Who?" And I go, "Frankenfurter." Because my good friends and brother in Christ, if you have not seen Tim Curry in Rocky Horror Picture Show playing Frankenfurter, please Google a picture right now. I'm waiting. He is so...
We'll sit here and wait.
I'll sit here. I have the patience. He's so hot. Literally perfect. And kind of shaped my current image of myself, because there is a perfect balance of femininity and masculinity, and it's just fantastic. I'm going to be talking about the movie, but I'll also go into some of the stage show because I have to. But let's get into it. So the whole thing. Have you seen this movie?
I'm gonna say yes, because I know I have, except I don't think I've ever sat down to watch it. It's always just, it's playing
on
places, it's on, I know the music, I know everything about it. I cannot remember a single instance of sitting down to watch it, but I know that I've seen it.
We should definitely do that the next time either you're in Ohio or I'm in Florida, because I think it is a wonderful film. Subjectively, it's not good. Or objectively,
subjectively, it's the best thing ever made.
It's wonderful. Objectively, it's like fine, but to me, it's beautiful, and to many millions of people, it is beautiful. So basically, we start out and we are at this church, and we meet our two protagonists, Brad and Janet, and it's starting out. I think it's been a little bit since I see it. A funeral or a wedding? It's a wedding. And Brad proposes to Janet and has banger of an opening song of Damn It, Janet, which was the only song I was allowed to sing that had curse words in it, because I learned it from the time I was 3 years old. So I did not know that damn it was a curse word. And he proposes to Janet. Janet accepts, and then they go to drive to the science exam to meet the guy who began it, which is the guy who basically introduced them to each other. Their tire pops. They get stuck in the rain, and then they pull up they pull up to what is called the Frankenstein place in the song, and it has probably like one of my favorite songs, the third song in the whole thing, and it's called Over at the Frankenstein Place. And Susan Sarandon, in that song, it is like, I think one of the most underrated songs of the whole show. It is beautiful. Her voice isn't perfect, obviously, because she's not a singer, but it is so good. The melody is very eerie, and the harmonies are fantastic.
I feel like that's Rocky Horror's whole appeal, is the whole thing is just so bizarre and just kind of off a bit in every way.
I mean, in Damn It, Janet, there's two people who look half dead in the back that every time that he says Janet, they go, Janet, in that exact, like, monotone way every time. And then when Janet is replying and is like, Brad, I'm mad for you too. They're like, Brad. That's what they sound like. And then we get introduced to Frankenfurter with Sweet Transvestite, which is my favorite song in the whole thing. It's wonderful. And Janet passes out from the sight of him because he's a man in a corset and a thong.
He's just that hot.
He's just that hot. It's impossible to resist him. And then Brad and Janet then are like stripped down to just their underwear. Strange.
Because of course they are.
And then they're brought into his lab where he has been making basically a human sex doll out of half of a brain and some body parts. Because this whole thing is just a parody of Frankenstein. It's just queer Frankenstein.
Some would argue that Frankenstein was already queer.
Aster, I know you're listening. And I know you're rolling in your grave at Neil's comment. Mavi, too. Oh my god, that could not have been more haunting to hear. I could agree, though. Yeah. But, I mean, like, there's no subtext here. He literally makes a man and says, like, there's wedding music as Rocky carries him over to their bed. Like, there's no subtext there. He's literally like,
it's a little on the nose.
I've been making a man with blonde hair and a tan. He's good for relieving my tension. Hey. That's in the fourth song in the whole movie. Yeah, I think this movie might be about gay sex. It's crazy. Anyways, then he's brought to life, but not before Eddie comes in on his motorcycle. He is he's Columbia's current lover after she was obsessed with Frankenfurter for a while, and then he steals the show, makes everything about him, and Rocky starts like being like, I like this guy, and then Dr. Frankenfurter gets mad and kills Eddie with an axe. Yeah. That's fun. And then you realize in a tiny bit after that half of Eddie's brain was actually made to use Rocky. So there's like a reason that he killed Eddie, because he didn't want Rocky to figure that out, or Eddie to like take ownership over Rocky. And then a crazy thing happens at the end of the night. They all have dinner together, and there's like this whole like dinner scene where they're singing happy birthday to Rocky, because it's technically his first birthday, or zeroth birthday, because he was just born. And then they start cutting the meat and like serving it, and then you realize that the meat is Eddie.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. And then Columbia runs away, and then they sing a song about how Eddie was just misunderstood, man. He played saxophone and rode a motorcycle because he was misunderstood. But that song bangs. Like, it's really good. And Meatloaf, rest in peace. I cried when I found out that Meatloaf died, because truly shaped my childhood. Like, so sad. And then Janet and Rocky are found canoodling. But previously in the movie...
Odd choice of words, but continue.
No, listen. Previously in the movie...
Do they use the word canoodling in the movie?
I'm sure they don't.
That was all you?
That's probably all my brain, homie. I can't guarantee this, but I'm 99% sure they don't say the word canoodling in that movie. But earlier in the movie, Janet and Frankenfurter were canoodling, and... plot twist, Frankenfurter and Brad were canoodling!
Oh, man, how did I know what you were going to say?
Who would have guessed?
Who would have guessed?
That the movie about gay people has gay people in it. Oh my god. But then, basically, seeing Rocky and Janet together throws Frankenfurter into this jealous rage. He has this song called Wise Up, Janet Weiss. I actually think it's Schmanet Janet or something like that, but I don't care. And he's basically chasing her around his manor, trying to kill her, because she took his man. And then he turns everybody to statues. So Columbia, Brad, Janet, Rocky, and fucking Dr. Scott. He gets turned into a statue too. I've not mentioned this man before. He's the guy that introduced Brad and Janet. I mentioned him briefly. I forgot his name then. And he's in a wheelchair also. This is important only because I will explain something very funny that I like about this movie that has to do with that fact. They do this whole burlesque-esque, I guess.
Burlesque,
number called Rose Tint My World, which is where all four of the main cast are up there dancing and singing and being in corsets and, like, I don't even know, like, almost like clown makeup, and they're singing about how the magic of the manor is making them act how they wouldn't normally act. So, like, Brad's whole thing is that he feels attractive for the first time, and Janet has reached her sexual maturity for the first time, like, actually feeling loved by another man. And Columbia talks about how her finding solace in Eddie is how she dealt with the pain of being forgotten by Frankenfurter. And then Rocky, his whole thing starts out with him going, I am just 7 hours old. And I think it's so funny. I'm like, yes, King, you are. Happy birthday, son. Like, and then Rocky comes in, or not Rocky, Dr. Frankenfurter comes in, and he's like, whatever happened? And he's like very dramatic, and he's so like ethereal and gorgeous. And then they all fall into a pool and start making out. It's great. And then Riff Raff and Magenta, who are two people that I have not mentioned, but are important, I guess, are two aliens, I guess, from the planet of Transylvania, who you realize that have come with Frankenfurter to Earth on a mission that's never told what their mission was. But they say the mission was a failure. We're going home. And so Frankenfurter interprets that as the three of them are going home. But Riff Raff goes, no, nay, just us two. And also at that part, Frankenfurter sings my second favorite song, which is I'm Going Home, and it's beautiful, it makes me cry. And he kills Frankenfurter, and then Rocky is overcome with grief at his father being killed, that he like climbs up a tower like King Kong style with him in his hands, and then it takes like 10 shots of this ray gun to kill him because he's so strong.
Because he's that beastie.
And then they both fall into a pool and they're dead. And then Riff Raff and Magenta are like, this manor is a spaceship, we're taking it, get out. And so Brad, Janet, Dr. Scott, and I don't know. Columbia dies too. Are all three out there, and then the end credits is like humans are just bugs on the planet. Like you're all writhing and foaming in the ground, like all this, and then it ends.
This is a great message.
It's crazy to try and describe it in a way that makes sense because I can't, because it doesn't. It makes no sense. But it is truly like so out there. All of the people that are staying in the manor that are like Transylvanians all have these like crazy costumes on and like these fun sunglasses. They do the time warp all together. It's so good. Also, the guy who plays Rocky, I think his name is Charles Atlas. Let me double check that though. Not that soundtrack idiot.
Peter Hinwood.
Him. He turned out to be a big old conservative and tried to wipe that movie from the face of the planet.
What? I've never heard this.
Yeah, he was like super ashamed that he was in that movie and tried to deny it was him. They did use a different voice actor for him for his songs, which is like very obvious when you watch the movie. You're like, that's not him. He like tried denying that it was him and then tried to get the movie like removed from a bunch of places, and then now just like completely he does not allow people to talk about it in front of him because he's like, I wasn't in that. No. Meanwhile, Susan Sarandon is like, I love it. Like, she tweeted the other day, she was like, I love all the whores that follow my Twitter. And I was like, yes! I love you, Susan. She's the best.
I mean, Tim Curry also.
I mean, yeah, but that's Tim Curry.
But yeah,
I didn't have to say that. He was in live version of it as Dr. Scott, actually. So he did wonderful in that. I won't be giving my thoughts on any other things about the live action one at this time. I have a lot of thoughts about it. Not many of them are good. So
you don't need to.
Yeah, but yeah. So that movie literally shaped who I am as a person. I went as Frankenfurter for Halloween this past year.
That was a pretty good costume.
Yeah, I'd like to do it again with lab coat and pearls this time instead of the sweet transvestite look. I'd like to do it again.
Well, you got a couple months to go.
Yeah.
Tim Curry was born the day after me.
So the 19th?
That's fun. The 19th.
Very nice. Oh, while we were gone, both Neil and I turned 21.
Oh, yeah. We both had birthdays.
Yeah, we both had Neil's.
On our small hiatus.
Yeah.
Another thing that took up a lot of time, along with Passover.
Is that we both turned 21 years old.
Yeah. Happy birthday to us.
Happy birthday us. It's a month late, but it's okay. It's okay. But anyways,
Mine's not been a full month yet, excuse you.
Mine's been over a month, so I'm compensating.
That's okay.
So yeah, that's my topic. I'm honestly surprised it took me 7 episodes to talk about this.
Yeah, me too, man.
Because I love this movie. I could watch it 8 million times and never be satisfied. So.
Hey, I mean, your last episode topic was snakes, so I'm surprised it took you that long to get to that topic as well.
I know.
This has really been a breakthrough episode.
It really has. I've been holding back, man. I've been holding back. I'm about to go crazy.
All right, well, thank you for your thing. That was fun.
Yeah.
My thing is also about some of my favorite movie/TV things, because of course it is. But this is prime time, Neil. My dad inspired me on this one. He's been pushing me to do this for a while. At least the first little part, it's going to be kind of a couple things in a row. But the first one was his idea. I thought it was going to be more than it is. But it turned out not to be, so I'm going to start with it, and we'll go from there. But the first one is, I want to talk about the Wilhelm scream. For those of you who do not know what the Wilhelm scream is, I'm going to play it right now. There it is.
I love the Wilhelm scream. It genuinely makes me laugh. Like,
it's very funny.
Anytime I hear it in, like, what is supposed to be like a serious movie, or even like, I don't know, like in a Curtis Connor video, like
even as a goofy sound effect,
like it makes me laugh.
Great,
it's so funny.
So I was looking at where it actually came from, and because it's been used now, I think the tally is like over 400 movies and TV shows or something. So it came originally. The first time it was used was in 1951. It was a film called Distant Drums, which I don't really know anything about the movie itself. But what I do know is there's a guy who gets bitten by an alligator in this movie. So a dude gets bitten, he's like in a lake, and he gets bitten by an alligator. And they brought in a bunch of cast members to do some post-production, sound effects, voiceover work. And they brought in one of the cast members, Sheb Woolley, who is, an actor and singer from the 50s, who is most known for recording the popular novelty song Purple People Eater, according to the internet. I don't know who he is. I feel like my dad's probably going to be mad, but I'm learning who he is now. So it is widely accepted that he's the one who recorded this scream, but it's not necessarily confirmed. But there are a couple alternate takes of the scream as well. I could not find them other than in this one video that I watched that's like super old school, like early 2000s, of some guy who's a sound editor who I've never heard of. And he like plays a couple of the alternate takes, and it was like the third or fourth take of this random scream that ended up being the Wilhelm scream. And so it was just, that was it. It was this one movie in 51, and then in 53... there was another movie called The Charge at Feather River, and it was this movie where there's a character named Wilhelm who did the scream. He gets shot by an arrow, and he does the scream, and that's where the name comes from. Now, it was not like a popular sound effect. It was literally not until Star Wars in 77 when the sound effect designer for Star Wars, named Ben Burt, he's the guy who found this sound, thought it was funny, I guess. And he put it in Star Wars. He put it in the first Star Wars, and then it subsequently was in every Star Wars movie after, except I think the most recent two. I couldn't find any reason why, and there are communities on the internet devoted to trying to find it in these movies, except I think it's not there.
Which is sad.
But it is sad. It was kind of a legacy that bring back Wilhelm in my Star Wars.
Hashtag not my Star Wars.
Hashtag not my Wilhelmless Star Wars.
Literally.
But it was literally, yeah, I didn't realize that it was like Ben Burtt, who worked at Lucasfilm, who did Star Wars and Indiana Jones, who made the Wilhelm scream popular. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought it was already popular by the time that they used it in Star Wars.
25 years between 53 and 77 when this dude dug it up, and
I'd also love to know why the movie from 53 took the first one's sound effects.
I don't know. I couldn't find anything about that. I mean, I guess it was just put into some stock archive of sound effects. It was labeled as man getting bit by an alligator and he screams. That's the name.
We can't keep this all to ourselves now.
Yeah, it was too good. So they made it, available for public use.
Thank God.
And now it's literally everywhere. And so that I thought was interesting, and this kind of led me into just wanting to talk about some of my favorite TV tropes just in general. And I was on kbtnpodcast.org because of course, and I fell into a rabbit hole because I do that a lot. And one of the first ones that I want to talk about, and now I'm just getting into random junk, but this one always makes me laugh, and it's on tvtropes.org. It's titled as Sheet of Glass. That's the name of the trope. And it's when there's a chase scene or something, and you see two random extras just carrying a large pane of glass across the street, and then inevitably, a guy who's running or a car or something just smashes through the pane of glass. I always think that one's really funny. I was looking at some examples of it, and there's some really good examples. There are a couple parodies of it and a couple subversions. There's in Gravity Falls, I didn't remember this, in the second episode of Gravity Falls, when they're on the lake and they're being chased by the Gobblewonker. And there's just two guys who are in two separate boats holding a pane of glass between them, and their boat just smashes through this pane of glass. And the same thing happened in The Simpsons. There's a screenshot, and there's a police boat that's, in a chase, and there are two other boats that say glass on them, and there's just a giant pane of glass connecting these two boats that get smashed. So that was a really funny one.
Oh my God.
There's some other really good examples too. It happens in regular show. There's one that they say is a subversion because it was there was a chase, and it keeps cutting back and forth between the chase and the guys with the glass, and in the end they zoom past next to the guys with the glass, and then the guys with the glass drop the glass so they can take video of the chase that's happening.
Yeah.
That's a funny one.
I love regular show. It's just so good.
I love regular show too. That might be another show that I talk about on here because that show goes so crazy.
So fucking nuts. It's wonderful.
Literally, by the end of that show, every episode from the beginning of that show is insane to begin with because it's always such mundane shit that just goes so off the rails supernaturally. But by the end of that show, when they're in space prisons and stuff, and spoilers, Pops is basically God.
Yeah, and then he unfortunately, again, spoilers, passes away.
Well, rip Pops.
Rip Pops. I miss you.
We miss you. And that trope also transitioned into what they call the fruit cart trope, which is also, it's a classic, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, which is also...
a chase scene happening through a market, and there's always a fruit cart that gets destroyed. My cabbages style, Yeah. And there are a couple good examples of this too, in Community, which is gonna lead me into another thing, we'll get there. But in Community, in one of the earlier episodes, when they're driving the Kentucky Fried Chicken 11 Herbs and Space Simulator, and it's just this giant bus, and they're returning back to Greendale, and they just hit a giant crate of apples that get scattered everywhere. It's always just random fruit that just gets run into. And then another thing, I'm going to name drop this, and this is actually on my list to talk about on this show, but I think I've told you about Garth Marenghi's Dark Place here or there, maybe.
Yeah.
It's It was a British show, little mini-series, very funny. I'll talk about it later on this show, I'm sure. Yeah. But there was like this massive monster chase scene that ended with them like in the woods, and just in the middle of the woods there's just a giant pile of cardboard boxes that they run into that just go flying everywhere. So that was also a really funny one.
And that also reminds me of in iCarly with Tebow and his sticks of food.
And his bagels.
No, it wasn't just bagels. He does the tacos on there. Then he's then he tells, I think it's Freddie, that he's working at the smoothie place, and he's like, yeah, put these tacos on the stick. And he's like, how do you want me to do that? He goes, like this. And then he shows him like perfectly skewered on the stick. And then Freddie gets fired because he can't do it.
You can't skewer tacos on a stick?
Yeah. That just reminded me of that.
Well, speaking of Community, this whole thing, after being on TV Tropes, it led me to the actual last couple things that I wanted to talk about, because I just started going through a list of all the best bottle episodes of television in general. Good. And so I wanted to talk about a few of my favorite bottle episodes, and I feel like you might be able to chime in on these.
Probably.
At least one or two of them. There are only three, really, that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
But the first one is that episode of Community. I don't know how well you know Community.
I know
do you remember
from you talking about it and me watching a few episodes here and there.
You haven't actually watched the whole show? I thought you did.
No. I've watched like 2 shows all the way through.
What? Wait, okay.
Let's
not do this right now.
Yeah, that's other than like shows I grew up with. Like in my adult life, like maybe 2 shows.
Alright, well, you need to watch at least this episode of Community. The episode is called Cooperative Calligraphy, and basically the episode starts with them, they're all like sitting in the study room, and as they're like about to leave to go to a puppy parade, Annie goes crazy because she lost her pen and she's convinced somebody took her pen. And the entire episode, it's so good. First of all, it's great because they acknowledge from the get-go. Abed's like, oh man, we're doing a bottle episode, aren't we? And everyone's like, Abed, shut up with your TV talk. And then at the moment that they're like, no, we're going to stay in this room until we find this pen, everybody's like, yeah, we're doing a bottle episode. So I guess for those of you who don't know, a bottle episode is an episode of a show where one or a few or all of the characters are stuck in one place for the entirety of the episode, for the whole storyline. And they're always just my favorite. So a review that I read, I think, of this Community episode, it talked about how it's almost like watching a play of your favorite TV show.
Yeah.
I've never thought about it like that, but I think that's maybe the reason I like it so much, is because it forces them to focus on the dialogue and the characters.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so it's just a really well-written episode.
They're always very well written because they have to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And so this Community episode, right, this Community episode is all like, it focuses each character by character as they try to figure out who stole this pen. It's just focusing on each character in depth, and you just get so much characterization of each of them by the end of the episode, and the way that they resolve it is so just heartwarming, and I'm not going to spoil it, and I think everybody should go watch Community first, and also specifically go watch this episode. That was the first one that I want to talk about. I would have focused on it more if I'd known that you hadn't watched Community. The second one was an episode of The West Wing, but I'm not going to focus on that either because I know you haven't watched all of The West Wing, but the episode is called 17 People, and I found a website that some guy made called 17people.com, and it is so... I'm going to send you this website because it is the most well-developed website I've ever seen dedicated to a single episode of television.
What the hell?
At the very top, it says, "A modest tribute to and deconstruction of my favorite hour of television" by John White. There's infographics, there's breakdowns of the set and where everybody is. There's number 1, intrigue, in massive letters. It's just this... There's like little cartoon characters of all the people in the show.
This is beautiful.
There's bits from the script. It is beautiful. The whole episode is incredible to begin with, because the episode is... Each character has such a distinct plot point in this episode, and it's what season is it? I forget what season it is. But it's like maybe season 2 or season 3, and it's when the president is running for re-election. and it has just come out. I guess there's going to be some spoilers, but it hasn't come out yet. But Toby basically finds out that the president has MS, and he's been keeping it secret. And so Toby is mad about that, and the president has to figure out what he's doing with his campaign, and Sam has been arguing with Ainsley. I know this doesn't really mean much to you, but I'm going to say it anyways. Sam is Rob Lowe's character.
I know
he's
that.
the deputy communications director. He's been fighting with Ainsley, who is a conservative, and she is working in the White House, and they've been fighting about the Equal Rights Amendment, which is an incredible argument. They talk about the 14th Amendment. It's very prevalent to what's happening in this country right now anyways. The whole show is.
Yeah.
But that whole storyline, their argument between the two of them is great. And there's also... Sam just has this great quote at the end when she leaves. She has this incredible argument, and she shuts him down, and then she leaves. And he's like, I could have responded to that, but in my head I've already moved on to other things, which is such a great line.
Which is just,
It's incredible. So I don't want to do everything for this whole episode, because the last episode that I want to talk about is an episode of Doctor Who. This you can definitely do. And I'm sure I've gushed about this episode before. This is maybe, like, along with Blink, Weeping Angels, of course, and Girl in the Fireplace, and, I mean, just to name a few of my favorite episodes with 10, this might be my favorite episode of the whole show. The episode is called Midnight.
This is a really good episode.
You know this episode. Yeah. The whole episode, it's the 10th Doctor, and it's just him, because at the very beginning, Donna is just, like, at a spa, and he just leaves her, and so it's just him. And he's just, like, he's on this diamond planet, where the entire planet is, like, just full of radiation. And so it's like this little sightseeing trip, except you can't really do any sightseeing because you're enclosed in like this little box, but it takes you on like a tour of the planet. And it's just him and a couple other people. The actor who plays Merlin in the show Merlin is there, and it's like him and this professor and this then the stewardess and the two drivers and this kid and this like older woman who's like a very angry, snarky type. And the plot of the episode is that while they're driving, their shuttle breaks down in the middle of this, empty radiation-filled planet, and there's just like this banging on the outside of the car. And suddenly, the doctor sees that this woman, the older woman, starts behaving super weirdly, and she starts repeating what all the other passengers are saying in like a really, really spooky way. And as the episode goes on and they're trying to figure out what's happening, she's like frozen in place, repeating what everyone else is saying, and slowly, the gap between when someone says something and when she repeats it gets smaller and smaller until she is saying things along with everyone else. And everyone starts freaking out, and the tensions build, and the doctor is sitting down face to face with her trying to figure out what's happening. And then slowly, he freezes in place, and she starts repeating him before he can speak. And so it slowly starts to seem like he's repeating her. And slowly, she gets more and more animated, and she kind of comes back to life, for lack of a better term, and he's now frozen in place, repeating everybody else, and everybody starts going crazy. And David Tennant's acting in this episode it's so good. It's so good. I don't even know how to explain it. It's so raw, because he's frozen, and it's all in his face, and you can see how he's struggling, and he's been essentially possessed by whatever this
thing is,
corporeal creature is. And by the end of the episode, it's just so tense. Like, the Community episode is fun, and it's tense, but, there's jokes, because it's Community and it gets kind of goofy.
Yeah.
And at the end of the episode, I'll spoil how it ends, because I don't care that much, but at the end of the episode, they're just like at the very beginning, the way the episode starts is Troy is just like, hey, maybe a ghost took the pen, and everyone's like, that's dumb, we're gonna figure out who took the pen. And at the very end, Jeff is just like, at this point, it seems almost impossible that one of us would have taken the pen, so the only explanation is something even crazier than impossible. So what if a ghost took the pen? And at the end, they just kind of agree that a ghost took the pen. And that's how they get over it. And it's fun and it's goofy. But this episode of Doctor Who, man, it is tense all the way through. and they're literally about to throw the doctor out of this car. They grab him, and they're dragging him out of this thing to throw him into the radiation where he's gonna die. And at the very last second, the stewardess of this shuttle realizes that he's the one who's been, like, kind of frozen, and that the woman who was mimicking people originally basically stole the doctor's voice. Yeah. And that she's the one who's still possessed. And the stewardess, like, grabs her and dives out and sacrifices herself. And the doctor just falls to the ground, and he's just, like, whispering, "It's done, it's done, it's done." And he, like, can't compose himself. And it is just so raw. And it's one of my favorite episodes of television ever, and probably my favorite episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah. I will always have a soft spot for Rose and 10.
Of course.
But this is probably my favorite. Yeah. It's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, just
episode.
pure acting by David Tennant, like, you really can't beat this episode.
It's brilliant. I do love this episode. I forgot how much I loved it until you started talking about it.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I can't do another Doctor Who watch through, Neil. I can't.
I mean, you can.
I can't. I don't have the time.
You do, though, and you could.
I don't.
You always can.
I work
at the very least
800
At
hours.
the very, very least, just this episode.
At the very least, I should rewatch 9 and 10 in the beginning of 11, which is what I always do, and then I get, like, a little bored in the middle of 11 because he was there for 800 years, and then I'll pick up again when I feel like it, which is never, which is unfortunate.
So what if you start with, like, the end of 10... and then just, like...
and then I forget about 9.
Or skip 11.
I'm probably going to skip 11.
Of 11.
Yeah.
You could.
Well, it's just because I really like Clara. I like her a lot.
Yeah, she's good.
She's good. Her and...
Meanwhile, yeah, what were you saying?
No, what were you saying? Mine was not important.
None of this is important. I spent this whole time just talking. I feel like this was just another episode where we each talked about our favorite things and the other person didn't have much to say.
Well, sometimes that is how it is. I think
sometimes that's how it is.
I just needed to talk for a half an hour about my favorite movie, and you just needed to talk for half an hour about your favorite television tropes, and that is just going to be how it is.
Yeah.
It's our podcast. Listen, Neil... I was in the ER. I think I deserve a treat talking about my favorite.
I just finished my exams.
I think you deserve a treat.
I get to talk about Doctor Who.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's going to do it. For me, at least. I don't know if you got anything else you want to bring up.
I don't. I mean, I'd just like to say thanks for everybody listening and for bearing with us while we figured life out this past month.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
And while we figure out coming back to this podcast.
Yeah.
We gotta get back into the rhythm of it.
Yep. And get back
if you are coming back, thank you.
And if you're coming for the first time, and you're like, whoa, episode 7. I've never even listened to episode 1 through 6.
Go do that.
Go do that, and also...
where have you been?
Welcome to the show, pal.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah, but you can follow us on all streaming platforms for podcasts, so like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever other people use, I don't know. And then we also have social media, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and TikTok at KBTN Podcast.
Yeah, probably primarily Instagram. Like, if you want updates, that'll be where they are.
Because both Neil and I don't really use Twitter at all, because it's awful. And I'm on Tumblr, and we're both on Instagram, and we're both on TikTok, so...
yeah. We put up all the little teasers on TikTok. Follow us on TikTok.
Yeah. But if you want, like, pictures about what we're talking about, or random stuff, the Instagram is where it's at.
Again, I want to throw this out again, but we keep getting more viewers from places that we don't know, and I'm genuinely curious who you guys are. Again, you do not have to reach out, but it would make our absolute months if you did. So if you're from one of these random places and we don't know you, say hi, and we'll say hi back.
Yeah, because I know who's from Australia, and I know who's from England. I don't know who the other people are.
I don't know who's from Utah or Albuquerque.
I don't know who's from Spain.
We got someone in Enid, Oklahoma.
Who's that?
That sounds really cool. Who are you?
Who is that? Who are you? Tell us all about you. Maybe you want to come on the show sometime. Let us know.
If you want to come on the show, let us know. You're welcome to.
It's me. I'm from Enid. And we'll go, okay. And we'll interview
Honestly, that would be great for both of us. That would be a really cool thing to have on the show.
That would be really fun, actually.
Yeah.
And then also, we do have an email, kbtnpodcast@gmail.com. Go ahead and send us things that you like to talk about, things that you found interesting this week, or if you just want to say hi. I think it's very fun when people email us, even if it is just Akiva or my mom. So, please email us sometime. Or just reach out, say hi. But yeah, I think that's all for us this week.
Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Until next time. I did almost forget our outro. Until next time, kick some nerd butts.
Turbo style.
Play that outro music.
Oh my god.